Grateful for that. One of the things that I've been thinking about in the midst of like risk and also resiliency is the opposite direction of the conversation when you have the students
Yes.
that are now
Yes.
seeing certain things and they then begin conversations and or actions around the risk.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you know what that ends up what happens as a result of that, right? Like you then water down your bullshit that you see, right? Because then you don't want to entice or invoke, that sort of a piece, but then there becomes this disconnection, like, wait, you're not seeing what I thought we was on the same, like, just the dynamics of this same conversation in light of the opposite direction.
Yes. Absolutely.
I think it just means something very different, and I know many people could have examples ultimately of what that looks like, but that's something that I'm just not willing to sacrifice or to jeopardize, that the fight then becomes internally on the inside. And so some of that looks like individual students who are incarcerated feeling slighted because the HBCU school that comes in with the black instructor waits an hour and a half before the session, so once we finally get in, it's 30 minutes, as opposed to the PWI that they're waiting at the front door. The clearances and expectations are different.
Yep.
You get to have hugs in that class. They get to actually embrace and hug each other and sit next to each other. But if anything of that sort happens on our side, it's a shutdown kind of everything. And when students see that, because they're in multiple classes with multiple institutions across the state, that then becomes some sort of internal issue that could be flipped on you too, right? That like you entice this or you as a result of that. So how do we, deal with seeing that, knowing that, and understanding, that reality?
Yeah, I mean, we are not responsible for how other people perceive us, right? There are certainly there are things that we can do that can put a certain image out there, but in terms of what you're talking about, those folks were already inclined to believe that you were sowing discord from the beginning. This was just the example, right, that they were looking for. But to your point, there is a prison in Connecticut right now, Cheshire Correctional Institution, where residents are undergoing a hunger strike. For better conditions, more access to programs, fewer lockdowns, and also using body scanners instead of like cavity searches. And what I've noticed when I look, like since Second Chance started in 2016, the community colleges came in, Yale came in as well in the facility that we are in, is that there has been more civil disobedience on the part of students wanting to get their rights inside. Is it because they have learned a great math lesson about the quadratic formula? Maybe. Maybe they are excited about it.
The quadratic formula is pretty great.
It is. Admittedly, it comes with a song and everything.
Yeah.
But what we are starting to see, or what at least what I am noticing from what is publicly available in my state, is that with the launching of programs and investment in the programs, students, because they see those disparities, they are now taking ownership of how to change them from the inside, right? Yeah. So, I've talked to y'all a bunch of times about my situation with an institution. But one of the things that I came to understand is that I served as a threat to that institution.
Yeah.
Because the relationship that I had been able to build with my students superseded their offering a credit and credential.
Right.
And so when that new program came in, students were in both of our programs. And I'm like, hey, get all the education while it's here. I don't care. But the other institution, because they still have this ownership of black bodies mentality, it was very mine. These are my students. You can't have my students. And the director of that program asked one of the students who were in both of the programs, why are you so loyal to Dr. Corbett? Why are you so loyal to her program? Why don't you just drop it? And they were like, well, so you kind of have two choices at this point. You can have no students in your class, or you can let us be dually enrolled. Now you get to make the choice. I didn't have to say anything, right? Because of how I carried myself, presented myself, and manifested my commitment to their well-being and their academic growth, that was enough for them to be like, I will risk this Ivy League instruction, this Ivy League degree to be in your program. And when the students are willing to make a risk, I can't not be willing to risk something.
Ride or die.
I am a ride or die.
Thanks.
I would like to ride more than die, but I will ride and die. And so for those of us that maybe, teach like humanities or social sciences, where these kinds of conversations, and I know I'm coming directly to you, where we can have these sorts of conversations, I would encourage you to be really, really open with them about social change. It doesn't even have to be about social justice, criminal justice, but how does the world go from one place to another? What does that look like, and how can we contribute as people to make that progress move only forward and not backward?